Joey Temali sheds more light on his current situation, and a couple events this past weekend had some surprising results. Let's talk about it. Welcome in everyone to Understable Discourse and this week's edition of the Chain Reaction, where we take a look back at the last week and the news stories that happened and react to them. And there are a couple specific things that we want to do. Number one, we want to look at some events that happened over the last weekend with some surprising results, more kind of surprising who didn't win than who did win, and look deeper into the Joey Temali situation and how it correlates with MVP and the Crushed Pepper podcast. But if you never want to miss a beat about what's going on in the disc golf space, make sure you subscribe right now to Understable Discourse. You can support us, and we would really appreciate that over here. But you'll never, ever, ever be outside of the know when it comes to the hottest news stories of what's going on today. Make sure you subscribe right now. All right, enough of that. Let's get into what we want to talk about today. And we're going to start off the top with the Joey Temali situation. For those of you who don't already know, back on January 22nd, Joey Temali released a post on Instagram that detailed his sudden departure with MVP. And his post kind of indicated that it was a bit of a shocking thing to him, as something that maybe he didn't really expect. And this also proved to be really shocking to most people, because Joey has had a very, very large stake in what goes on from a media perspective over at MVP. He's a huge source for them on and off the course every single week. And so this really felt like an absolute shakeup, especially going into a season where leaning into content was something that we expected more of from the brand with the acquisition of Aaron Gossage and Silas Schultz. But that's all we had for the time being. And after a little bit of time went on, we got information about an email that went out from the team manager of MVP to their team itself. And that email made some high-level statements regarding the situation, about how, Joey was supposed to be part of a really extensive growing media plan in 2026, but there were circumstances at large that made it perfectly clear to both parties that they could not work together going forward. And once again, waters were kind of muddied with no real information about what happened, and that's what everyone really, really wants to know. So at that point, we have two major questions that have arisen from this situation, or at least at the time, the two major points. Number one, what on earth is Joey going to be doing this season when it comes to his play, his media production, media coverage, all that kind of stuff? I mean, let's be honest here. Let's be straight up. While Joey Temali is a sufficient disc golfer who could probably beat a lot of the people locally that you play against, when it comes to the Pro Tour, he's not one of the top dogs. He's not one of the middle dogs. He's a disc golfer on the Pro Tour. But when it comes to his ability to shine on the media sphere and be involved in that realm of things, he is a top talent, and it's very, very surprising. And so everyone's wanting to know what's next for Joey. And the second question they've all asked is what's going to happen to the Crushed Pepper podcast, which was, sponsored by MVP. So those are the two big questions we have. So we waited, and 3 days ago, we got a post from the boys and an actual episode of the Crushed Pepper podcast. And not just an audio episode, but a video episode on OTB Disc YouTube channel. Now, that's really interesting because Joey's first ever sponsor was OTB, and they talk about how OTB is going to be the new sponsor for the channel. We'll get more into that here in a little bit. But in this episode, Joey also discusses the situation itself and kind of how things went about. He reiterates that he was completely surprised by this, but not so incredibly surprised, because there were some, maybe some reading of the tea leaves that something was coming along those lines, but wasn't 100% sure. But still, just the nature of it and how long they waited over the offseason to do it made it surprising to Joey. And he mentions that there's a system being built by MVP, and how it's not really conducive to them to work together until after that system is done. That's a very cryptic thing. I don't know what he means by that. We don't really have a lot of info on that, but Joey does say that he wishes the best for MVP and its long-term success. Whether that's him trying to save face or being legitimate, I think, given the situation, I think he really does mean it, that he hopes the MVP succeeds, because obviously being one of the biggest names in our sport, I think Joey benefits long-term from MVP succeeding. So there's that. And then the one other thing that most really don't know about Joey, if you don't know his situation, is that he didn't just work for MVP. I think a lot of people were like, oh my word, he only worked for MVP. This has got to be devastating. He actually does a lot of work around media within disc golf, not just for MVP. In fact, he refers to MVP not as like, his one singular employer. He refers to MVP as a client. And since then, he's been doing the whole networking grind. He talks about going to Disc East, where he talked to a lot of people about, the pie in the sky. Let's do this stuff. Let's collaborate here. Let's do these things. And how a lot of those conversations go to the back end and don't really turn into anything, or aren't quite as sparkly as they appeared when they first happened, in person. But he talks a bit more on the pod, which is, I think, one of the more interesting things about the two types of work that he looks for, the two types of clients that he takes on. First is the individual player who wants assistance with their social media, who wants help filming their rounds, for posting on stuff. And he kind of drops the little knowledge bubble that he apparently has been running Calvin Heimberg's Instagram for the last few years. So that's really interesting. But he also has done some work and is going to be doing some work with Paul McBeth. I know we've seen him a part of the foundation, Paul McBeth Foundation videos before. I think he was helping on one of the most recent projects they did, along with Avery Jenkins. So we know he's doing that kind of stuff for individual players. But his second type of client situation is, partnering with these large brands. So with MVP, that was a really simple thing for him and very ideal, because MVP is a top level partner with the Disc Golf Pro Tour. So when it comes to media rights and all that, MVP is top of the heap. And the difficulty is with a lot of these companies is they need to have individual licensing agreements with the Disc Golf Pro Tour, and it creates this kind of stopgap for a lot of companies where if they want Joey to go in and film for them, not only do they have to pay Joey to do the filming, they have to pay the Pro Tour to license that particular media. And so it becomes doubly expensive. So a lot of these companies don't partner up with people. They find some other way to like repurpose already licensed material, that kind of stuff. So that creates a barrier for Joey that he kind of has to overcome of how that's going to work. And that's why MVP was so great for him. When it comes to his personal stuff, Joey says that he's going to be open bag this year, not really necessarily sponsored by one particular manufacturer. He's going to be doing a big Whatnot coming up here in a few days with Calvin, I think on Calvin Heimberg's Whatnot channel, where he's going to be selling a lot of, in his words, highly sought after MVP discs. And all that money is going to go towards his touring schedule this year. So I highly recommend you go check out Calvin Heimberg's Whatnot and bookmark that show. If you want to support Joey, that sounds like a fantastic way to be able to do so. I think one of the important things is that on a high level, Joey does say that he is feeling relatively good about everything right now. He actually uses the phrase that pressure makes diamonds, and he's looking forward to being on the grind again. Although I don't know how, he says he's going to be doing some car camping. I'm sure that's just a modest thing of saying that he's going to be enjoying that. I don't think anyone likes really sleeping in their car very much, but I think someone with his skill set, he's going to land on his feet within the space. Someone is going to find the value, and maybe he continues to do more work with more individual pros. And so I feel very optimistic. But that leads ourselves into the secondary question of what's going to happen with the Crush Pepper podcast. And for that, like I mentioned before, they're now sponsored by OTB, which makes a lot of sense because that was, sponsor of Joey, sponsor of Eagle. OTB does work with MVP, so things kind of line up for Simon. And so now all of the podcasts are going to be located on the OTB Disc channel. And not only that, they're moving over to video format. So you're going to get to see them during the actual video. If you watch this one, you got to see what Eagle looks like in space as an astronaut. So I don't know how you don't want to watch that. So make sure, honestly, if you want to support the Crush Pepper podcast, go over to the OTB Disc YouTube channel and make sure you view their episodes, subscribe, like the episodes, do all that kind of stuff, engage. Because I, for one, am happy that they're still going to be around. I think that a rising tide lifts all boats, and having 3 people on tour talking about things that are going on and kind of goofing off a little bit and having a good time, I think is really valuable. Like if you watch that episode, if you didn't watch that episode, you don't know that Simon's thinking about moving, that Simon's talking about the Raleigh, North Carolina area. So you're missing out if you're not watching that stuff. So go make sure to check that out. But here's the thing, you would know those things if you subscribe to Understable Discourse and you followed us along on all of our short form daily content, I release a thing called the Hot Round every day, where in 3 minutes or less, I talk about what's going on in disc golf news that you have to know about. And I keep everyone very, very on the up and up of what's happening, because a lot of these places you have to wait till, Monday or Tuesday or whatever day to listen to your favorite podcast. And by then it's been 2 or 3 days since the news has come out. So if you want to always go into those podcasts knowing what's happening already, make sure you subscribe right now to Understable Discourse and support the growth of this channel. We really greatly appreciate it over here. So looking at the events that happened this past weekend, there were several, probably the biggest of which is the 21st Open at Tallahassee, which was a sizable event going down in Florida, a great place for a lot of pros to sort of bookmark a stop for themselves to get ready for the start of the season, refire that competition mindset. And we saw a sizable field on both the MPO and FPO side. For the MPO, it came down to a very heated battle between Joseph Anderson, aka Joey Buckets, and Paul Kranz. And thanks to a very unfortunate bogey by Kranz on hole 16 in that final round, it would be enough for Joey Buckets to go on and win the event, with Evan Scott, not Evan Smith, and Cole Radalin tying it up at third place, 5 strokes back from Mr. Buckets. Over on the FPO side, we saw Caden Spurge, Kat Murch, and Jessica Gerthy all going at it, and kind of expecting one of them to win, but that would not be the case, as Lisa Fakis would take a 6-stroke win over the rest of the field, and putting down the work out there. So big win for her. Really, really great to see, but awesome to see the touring pros out there grinding it out before the start of the season. Another sizable event that went on, it was the 48th annual Wintertime Open. This happened at the birthplace of disc golf courses out in Oak Grove in California. And the funny part about this is, if you look at what the results were for the MPO field, it showcases a really interesting thing about disc golf. You have Dallas Garber taking down the event after a scorching 13 under second round, including an ace, but he ends up winning by taking down Josh Anton in a playoff, which is kind of wild, because Dallas Garber represents like this new guard, young rookie player in college, and you have Josh Anton, who's been around since forever, and you're getting to watch the two of these go at each other at the oldest course there is. It's just so poetic from a disc golf perspective. On the FPO side, Owen Scoggins just absolutely demolishes the field by 12 strokes, picking up her 3rd A-tier win of the year so far, and just getting herself rolling and rolling. I'm excited to see what she does to start the actual Pro Tour season off. The last event I want to talk about real quick is the Gulf Coast Charity Open, hosted in Tampa, Florida. This went down at the very, very iconic Cliff Stevens course, where honestly, Andrew Marweed took it down. There wasn't too many other people around him that I think are of sizable note. Andrew Marweed gets the job done, no problem, no questions asked. And Hannah Wynn takes a note from Owen Scoggins' book and says, "Oh, you won by 12 strokes? I'm going to win by 21 strokes," as she takes down the A-tier win to get her season kicked off, which I think is going to be really solid for her as well. But that's a recap of the events that happened this past weekend. Let me know, did you watch any of those events? Were you excited to see the results of those events? Are you amped up for the season to start? I 100% am super duper excited, and we got some fun things coming up here. A couple things that you can look forward to as a listener, watcher, or whatever of Understable Discourse is, I've got an interview this upcoming Wednesday here in 2 days with Levi Stout. You don't want to miss that. You're going to find out why he's the best player that's ever come out of the Southern Hemisphere. Not my words from actual players on the Pro Tour who have said that. We're going to be doing a deep dive into the Whatnot craze and talking to some pros who were part of the buildup of Whatnot and what that looked like for the disc golf community. I'm going to be doing a full power ranking of this year's Pro Tour field, which is going to be a lot of fun. More interviews with more amazing people, and also next week I'm going to be doing a full-on disc golf AMA style video like I've done before, where you can ask any question you want. So if you want to check out that, make sure you look at our daily episode of the Hot Round that came out today, where I talk about how if you submit a question, you get yourself an opportunity to win win some Gooder shades, right? You don't want to miss a chance to win some free shades, especially from Gooder. They're pretty awesome. Make sure you go check out the Daily Hot Round. Make sure you subscribe. I thank all of you for being here, for listening and supporting as we go through this. Thank you so much for your time. Make sure you go watch some disc golf. Go play some disc golf. It's getting warmer, folks. We're almost there, and it's almost time for the Pro Tour season to arrive. But for me, this has been Understable Discourse and this week's edition of Chain Reaction. I'll catch you next time for that Levi Stout interview.